Welcome to the Great Basin Prescribed Fire and Smoke Transport Briefing for Friday, January 24th. Over the last 2 weeks and even longer across many areas of the Great Basin, we've seen minimal precipitation, very dry conditions in southern and western areas of the Great Basin with no new precipitation, and anything further north has been very light and well below normal for the time of year. So obviously we have not had much, if any, new snowfall across the Great Basin, with really everything up in Montana and further east into Wyoming. And looking at our snow depth, you can see we are still holding steady with the snow depth in the north and in parts of the Sierra. This snowpack is near normal in parts of the northern half of the Great Basin, but really sliding to below normal as we continue to see drier conditions and no additions to the snowpack. And then in the Sierra, we have continued to slide below normal, and we're now in that 70 to 80% range, or even a little bit lower, but very poor conditions in the south. Our colder temperatures have allowed our snowpack to hang on over northern areas despite no new snowfall. So obviously with these drier conditions, our short-term drought has really intensified over the southern half of the Great Basin, and our longer-term drought continues to develop in the south and even over parts of central and eastern Idaho into Wyoming, where we are seeing some severe to extreme drought. We're hoping to change those conditions going forward in the winter, but due to our dry conditions, we are obviously seeing some drought develop. The satellite image from this morning shows a band of cloud cover over parts of Idaho, Wyoming, and northern Nevada and Utah, ahead of an area of low pressure and frontal system that will be dropping south. There are a few showers this morning in parts of the northern areas of the Great Basin, but those will start to increase as we go later today, and that front moves a little bit closer. So by later today, you can see that low really drops into the northern plains, pushing that front south. So today will be our last warm day across the Great Basin for the next 5 to 6 days. And we will see some light showers embedded in this area of cloud cover along the front today, but really better chances this weekend. Poor dispersion with generally lighter winds. Winds pick up a bit as that front moves in over the northern half of the area. So there will be some pockets of better dispersion, but generally still poor today. And you can see that on the wind field here on the left. Some gusty winds in Idaho, Wyoming, and northern Utah, but otherwise very light winds over much of Nevada into Arizona. Mixing heights remain low today. Temperatures remain cold up north with highs only in the 20s and even some teens in western Wyoming and the higher elevations of Idaho, but a very warm day on tap for Nevada and Utah, well above normal for the time of year, with highs reaching the 40s and 50s and the 30s there in eastern Utah. Relative humidity remains very low over southern areas of the Great Basin, with relative humidity in the single digits. Obviously better as you go further north, but we will see improvements to this in the coming days. By Saturday, a low really starts to develop near the San Francisco Bay Area and will be very slow moving south and east over the next 5 to 6 days. So we will see better chances of cloud cover and increased precipitation going through the day on Saturday, mainly stretching across the I-80 corridor and points further south. You can see the very dry air in place over Idaho and Wyoming. So this really is a southern half of the Great Basin event, and still precipitation somewhat on the lighter side, but we will see some pockets of several inches of new snowfall. Dispersion will remain better across Nevada as we go into Saturday, and winds start to increase east of this low and still remain poor over northern and eastern areas. Transport winds, this will be our gustiest day over northern and western Nevada into the Sierra. We'll see gusts above 30 or 40 miles per hour, with some gusts above 50 miles per hour in the higher elevations of the Sierra. And this will stretch across northern Utah and southern Idaho as well, so we will see better mixing heights. But at least areas in the south where those relative humidities are really low, we won't see these gusty winds. On Saturday, the cold front pushes through from the north, so we will see a significant drop in temperatures. Temperatures will drop 15 to 20 degrees or more over western areas of the Great Basin and into parts of central areas, and really remain somewhat steady in the north as it continues to be cold in Idaho and Wyoming. Overnight lows will drop into the low single digits up north and in the teens into northern Nevada and Utah. Another dry day on Saturday, but not quite as dry in the south, relative humidity around 10%. This low on Sunday finally starts to move near the Southern California coast, so it will bring more moisture to southern Nevada, where it's been very dry, continued cloud cover and lighter showers across really much of the southern 2/3 of Nevada into Utah, still remaining very dry up north. And dispersion will remain good across Nevada and southern Utah and Arizona as this low continues to track slowly south and east with those gusty winds continuing. So we will see some gusty winds make it into southern areas of the Great Basin on Sunday, but mostly those wind gusts will be in the 20 to 30 mile per hour range. And mixing heights will increase substantially over southern and western areas and be very low up north. Temperatures remain somewhat steady on Sunday after that cool down tomorrow, so highs mainly in the 30s in Nevada and Utah, just a few degrees of cooling in the far south, but you can really see how the relative humidity increases, especially in southern areas that have been in those single digits to around 10%. So moisture just remains in place. The 3-day precipitation, you can see many areas of California, obviously Southern California where they really need it, get some significant rainfall, but also up into the Central Sierra, parts of Western and Southern Nevada, kind of in that quarter to half-inch range. So we will see several inches of new snowfall in the higher elevations, but still a pretty modest event by late January standards with respect to snowfall. And we will see those lighter amounts extend further east into Utah, and anything up north, again, very light. Don't expect much change to the snowpack up there. So we move into Monday, this low, very slow to move to the east, still over Southern California, so that moisture in place over southern areas of the Great Basin with still better dispersion and some breezy winds. This continues on Tuesday. By Wednesday, the low finally slides into southern Arizona with moisture still clipping southern Utah. And then by Thursday, really just southeast Utah seeing some showers, but a very slow moving event with several days of increased humidity, some cooler temperatures, and some light shower activity for those southern areas of the Great Basin. Obviously up north, still quite a bit drier, lighter winds, see some inversions developing in those very cold temperatures. Precipitation for the Monday through Wednesday time period. So as we get into early next week, any precipitation will be confined to southern areas. Obviously, they desperately need it down there, so any precipitation is welcome. And then by mid to late week, the low finally moves far enough east to where we only see some very light precipitation in southeast Utah, but really much of the Great Basin on the drier side with warming temperatures as we get towards midweek. 7-day total precipitation, again, you can see Central Sierra, Southern Nevada getting into some good amounts of precipitation and clipping Western Nevada as well. Definitely amounts get lighter and more sporadic as you move further north and east, and then very light precipitation in the north. The only areas that really probably will be void of any precipitation will be parts of southern Idaho into northern Nevada. 8 to 14-day outlook taking us from the end of January through the first week of February still shows warmer conditions down south and those colder temperatures continuing in the northern tier. Precipitation may increase to near to above normal over the northern half of the area as we see that northern storm track become a little bit more active, but that remains to be seen. We've seen very dry conditions recently, so we are hoping for that pattern change. That concludes the webcast for today. We have resumed these webcasts on a regular basis, so we will be producing them Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Have a great weekend.